Hello and welcome to the Inner Knowing podcast. I have the beautiful Holly here with me today. Thank you, Holly, for joining me. We are going to talk about all things, I think, wonderful, wild, and weird today, and the ways in which you can find success in life in a non-linear path while still, it sounds like, applying some linear theories to getting it done. Holly, I asked you earlier about your astrology, but we don't actually care about that here. Holly cares about spicy pigeons, which I think is way more fun. Holly, can you introduce yourself to the listeners? Tell us what your spicy pigeon is. However you like to identify, please tell us about you.
Amazing. So I am Holly. I am Biz Coach Holly on Instagram, and I help you identify your inner spicy pigeon. So a lot of the times my clients come to me and they are so bored in business. They've like sucked the joy out of business. They feel like drained. And so we find that inner spicy pigeon, which looks like your mindset, your identity, your genius, your weird, your kinks. And we bring that forward in your brand. So your clients are naturally going to be obsessed with wanting to work with you. And it's a passion of mine. Growing up, I was basically Avril Lavigne of my class.
Okay.
I was the weird little stripy sock kid who, we used to go out with all the girls. And in the UK, we have alcoholic drinks really young at 16. So we used to go to an Indian restaurant and everyone would be like, I'll have Malibu and Coke, please. I'll have Malibu and Coke, please. And I was like, I'll have a pint. I'll have a pint of lager. I was always the odd one out. I was always the spicy pigeon. And I think the people in the online space are all spicy pigeons too. We're just not owning it.
Okay, I love that. Also, Malibu and Coke sounds awful. I don't know much, but that sounds so terrible to me. I love that. I was an exchange student in France when I was 17, and we used to drink wine coolers in Canada. When I went to France, they did do rum and Coke, and I was like, I hate it here. I'm still not a drinker, but anyways, it was like, I hate it here. Okay, well, yes, I would also probably self-identify as quirky and to the point of, I don't know if this happens to you, but people are always telling me how funny I am, and often I go, I wasn't trying to be funny actually, so got it. Like just the essence of who you are sometimes becomes when you're able to live outside the norm. I think sometimes that can be funny because you're just like seeing life from a different perspective. So tell me, how did it start in this business? Was there like a moment, a crux, I can't anymore, or was it more like I gotta go do this? Or how did you and the spicy pigeon route come to be?
So, take me back, I want to say 2.5 years ago. I'm a specialist community health nurse by design. So, I've been a nurse in the community for 14 years. So, it's something called a health visitor in the UK. We support families up until the age of their children is 5, a lot of child protection. We navigate a lot of challenging situations in the home. And I loved the job, but I was capped at an income. And I had my first baby, Hattie, with her dad, which we'll get to soon. And we had Hattie, and then we ended up separated. And when we separated, when Hattie was about 18 months old, I found myself in a ton of debt, a credit card, in a situation where I felt insanely vulnerable. And I ended up being like obsessed with exercise at the time. And I was spinning in my spin classes and I was like, hey, why don't I become an instructor for mum and babies in the local area? I just like trained to be a gym instructor, dead easy, right? With a kid and a job, whatever. Bring it on. A breakup. Yeah, sure. That sounds great. So I trained to be a group fitness instructor and opened up my own mum and baby fitness classes locally. Then me and her dad ended up getting back together and I ended up going on social media and promoting myself. And then I got pregnant with Fred, my second baby.
Oh my God,
Uh,
Hetty and Fred, amazing.
yeah, Hattie and Fred. And then our relationship went south very, very quickly. The stresses of the pregnancy and whatnot. And I found myself again in this financial predicament where my business, I was running £7.50 mum and baby classes. I had pelvic girdle pain with Fred, and I was like, something has to give. I have so many skills. And I was collaborating with a lot of baby massage therapists, doing a lot of life support and weaning and reflux, which was my background in nursing. And then they were like, hey, I was looking at all these things like high ticket sales, low ticket sales, all this kind of stuff,
Mhm.
invested in my first coach. And then fast forward, Fred was born, and everyone was like, how are you doing so well? How are you making sales? How are you making this thing work? Because the space we were in wasn't great. We've all been there. And everyone started to kind of like hire me inadvertently for the marketing. And then I ended up doing brand collaborations and making 4 figures online and started just showing up.
Mhm.
And I was just like a dog with a bone. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be a millionaire. I'm just going to make it happen, and I don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then everyone started to hire me for marketing. I, invested in myself again, got myself a coach. And then let's fast forward, I don't know, a few months in, and have had consistent 5-figure months since, because it's my calling to help and support women with their sales. I love it so much. And so it just naturally fell on my lap. That's a very, very long story cut down.
Yeah.
But my main focus was I was in survival at the
Hmm.
time of my business. It
Yeah.
wasn't it wasn't something that was brought because I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. But then I started to find the love in it. And when I found the love in it and I found my spicy pigeon, that is when I made insane money. So that is what I do as well, in whatever niche or genre they're in.
Yeah. Okay. I love this. How do you get your energy to show up in this type of magnetic way when you are in, like you said, kind of maybe challenging circumstances? It's not ideal. You're going from a very known to a deeply unknown, which I think is, it's the liminal space. It's the thing we all want the unknown, but we're all afraid of it. But you've crossed the, I'll use all my corporate words. You've crossed the chasm. You've gone to the other side. How did you self-care? Did you have aliens visiting you, tell you every night, like what was the thing that was happening within your world to guide you successfully through what some might perceive as a really challenging time, but ultimately has sounds like fueled your success?
It genuinely fueled me. Like, I was in a situation where I was on benefit, so it's like the government money. I was on maternity leave, so I had zero coming in. I had this delusional belief that anything was possible for me, and I never believed that this was not going to happen.
Was that always in you? You've
No.
always had that belief? Okay, yeah, how did you find that belief?
You know what? It was just through moving. And I say this all the time with my clients. It was moving like through treacle, through the uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and just getting out the other side every time. I am somebody, and I've always been like this, who, I've been insanely determined at everything I do. When I say I'm going to do it, I'll do it. I'll follow through with it. But it's the movement. And I didn't have a plan. I wasn't being trying to be perfect. I was just showing up consistently and moving through every single hurdle until I got out to the other side. And when I did that with this determination and devotion and consistency, and I know consistency is thrown around all the time, but it genuinely is this perseverance and then I started to believe, well, this is inevitable. If I do this, it can't not happen.
Oh my God, I believe it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna jump to the screen. I believe you too. I'm gonna do, yeah, amazing. Okay, you've got me hooked. But there's something that you're doing. Seems so, I'm like, I don't know if it's like, I always think about when people are like, women, are they scary? I'm like, have you seen a lioness with her cubs? Like, to me, that's like a mom. You're like soft, caring, kind, nurturing, but you're like, but I gotta make it work for my family. Moms can do these like unbelievable things because I think it does fuel you. Do you think that was the driver? Like, what empowered you to shift so beautifully? Or maybe it was like just one win after another, but what was it because these
I
are
mean,
impressive things.
yeah, I didn't have wins for a very long time, and this is what nobody talks about, right? Everyone talks like, "Oh, I had all these wins, and it was great, and it was compounding, it was so beautiful," but
I was
nobody
just
was
in the
quiet.
bathtub typing up an email and then I got $1 million.
Yeah, I just posted consistently, and it happened. It didn't happen that way. It was genuinely a combination of things. It was a proof to myself. So I'm quite competitive by nature, and I wanted to prove to myself that I can sell my house. I can get the house of my dreams that I manifested into existence, by the way, and we can talk about that, which is a really cool story. My ex-partner wasn't going to live with me in the house in a very toxic situation that was happening, and that happened in a really crazy synchronicities too. I really deep dived into spirituality, so I was like, anything is possible for you if you believe it to be possible, and I never gave up on that belief. Don't get me wrong, what I call it is a wanky wobble in my world. Everyone has these wanky wobbles, we call it, in my mastermind, where we're all you wobble, but I get out of it so much quicker than most. It's like I can really lean into, okay, right now I'm in a wanky wobble, and where is that coming from? Is it because my 3D reality isn't showing me what I want? Why? What am I telling myself every day? I have really great reflective abilities, and I think a lot of that does come down to me and my career as a nurse. And being in these challenging situations all the time, being critically aware, like risk adverse, like going into houses,
Yeah.
managing all walks of life, right? It comes with a set of resilience.
And where
And
I
I choose
think actually is
not
life
to
and
make.
death. So all this maybe also maybe feels a little less intense because it's not life and death. It's important, but it's not life and death.
Yeah. I mean, even my nursing was more social care work in the end. It wasn't even like, we're not dealing with medical stuff, we're dealing with all the social aspects, but it's still, you see people who genuinely can't afford food and you get more grounded. And so I really did tap into that into so many different ways. And like when I think about me 18 months ago, I don't even recognize myself. But that continues to be my evolution because I'm continuously on a path of developing myself without it sounding cheesy. And when like I had the synchronicity of like, should I quit my job? Again, we can talk about that, the crazy stuff that
Let's
happened.
start there. Tell me your crazy synchronicity of quitting your job because I think that can be a real crazy moment for people to finally step off one ledge and go on to the next. Tell us about that.
So last summer, I mean, I'd made 100K in sales. So I was at a really great point in my business, but I was still really nervous about quitting my job, the security, the safety of like my home and being with the kids and all that kind of stuff. So I said to the universe, I was like, show me a sign of the snake if I'm meant to quit my job, like hit me in the face with it. I really want to see it. So I came downstairs with Fred. At the time, he's just over a year old. So he's just like plodding around and he gets this spot book, which is like a dog
Yeah.
with
Oh, I know Scott.
and he opens it up. He keeps opening it up, like showing me all the time. And it's a picture of a snake. And I was like, thank you, universe. That's lovely, but I need more. I was like, we'll take him to nursery and we'll go. And then all of a sudden, my 5 year old, I got her a little camera. And she's like, look at all these games on here, mummy. There's so many games. All of them were games of snakes. It was just this tacky camera from Temu. And I was like, okay, thank you. That's amazing. But more, please. So then I went to Ibiza on a work trip and I took the kids with me and I paid for my ex-partner to come so we could look after the children. That's another story. And there was like this problem on the island with snakes. Apparently, all these snakes had been imported in and they were having loads of problems and loads of plants were dying. And there was an ecosystem problem and everyone was talking about it. I was like, okay, I get the snake thing. Then I came home and I went on a camping trip. And in the UK, we don't really have snakes. But there was in the forest in Norfolk, they were like, there's lots of snakes around here. So you need to be really mindful of all the snakes. And I was like, okay, I get it. And then my ex-partner brought home my daughter's bag from nursery and he says, this has been in my boot of my car for ages. I think you forgot about it. And she never brings anything home from nursery.
Mhm.
And when I opened the bag, there was this wooden block with a perfectly drawn snake on it, with a pin in, with a green button nailed into the snake, with nothing else. I
Right.
was like, I think I need to quit my job.
100%. Okay, amazing. And how in like short succession was all that happening?
Weeks.
Amazing.
One after the other after the other. And when I opened her bag and I looked at the wooden block, and like not only is it a green pin, which I is like abundance, it was the shivers down my spine was like she's never brought anything home from nursery because she was in a forest school, so she just was covered in mud every time she came home. Why has she got a snake in her bag that was in my partner's boot, my ex-partner's boot, for so many months that he didn't even know about, that he decided to give to me at that time?
Yeah. Okay, I
And
love
it
this.
was a professional drawing of a snake. It wasn't a kid snake. It was like somebody had stenciled it in. So I have that on my windowsill as a byproduct of all the weird and crazy, crazy shit that's happened to me in business.
And then so it's super serendipitous. You've asked for the sign. My brain always goes, was the sign going to always be there? So the spirit told you to ask for a snake, or did a snake appear because that like you called it in? I'm always curious about how energy works. But what were all the logical things you did, and then what were all the magical things you did in the quitting? It sounds like logically you were also making 100 grand, like you were set. Because some people jump with no net, which is very cool for them, but you had a pretty solid core. And then what did you do once you jumped in terms of manifesting to allow it to continue versus stall? Because I think lots of people end up stalling almost from like it can be like a grief process for some people to leave a job that's like been their identity, and then some people thrive. So tell us about then like crossing the threshold and what you did on the other side of quitting after you saw 19,000 snakes.
19,000 snakes later. To be honest, you know what? Life's so busy for me. Like I was just go, go, go that I was
Hmm.
like, I cannot wait to have this time because if I can blow up this business to six figures with a job, imagine what I can do without it. And I still work as a nurse. I do what's called ad hoc shifts to keep my registration because we have
Hmm.
to keep it, otherwise you lose it. And so I knew it was never going to be bye-bye, but it was so ready. And I remember that first week of being like, I have so much time on my hands to build
Yeah.
this empire, to build this business.
Yeah.
And nothing felt misaligned because I just knew it was meant to happen. I'm just one of those people that's very black and white. When I make a decision, I don't hold any regret. I don't hold any worry. I'm just like, things are happening for me.
Yeah.
Things are not happening to me.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, it was perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. And then what's your manifestation practice as it's been like the year past? You've left. What have you been doing in all like the spicy pigeon ways to make sure that you continue to grow? And like, I think there's that intersection of when you're doing, but then the universe puts these amazing things in your path because you're so aligned. Tell us about that, or if there was something super serendipitous that you've really been like, well, shit, that was pretty good, universe, actually. You really, even me, I was surprised. Do you have any of those types of moments since you've been growing it to this seven figures?
Well, when I moved house, so like when we owned our own family home with my ex-partner, and the market was terrible. So no houses were selling at the time. And I was like, I need to get out this house. I need to just like cut all ties and be free with my kids. And there was a renting crisis in the UK. Nothing was selling, but I was like, no, this is going to happen. So put it on the market. We sold it really quickly to this couple who were first-time buyers. So there's something called a chain in the UK. And if you're in a chain, it takes forever. If like there's loads of people trying to buy and sell houses together, it's like some sort of horrendous nightmare. And there was no chain. So they were chain free. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to release this money, but I need to go rent. And I got rejected from about 15 different houses when I was looking for rentals. Even though I wanted to pay 12 months upfront rent because I'm a single mum with two kids, they were like, hell no, we want two couples, we want two incomes, all these kind of things. And I ended up being like, I'm never going to find a house. And then I was like, no, this is not going to be my reality. So I ended up going to my friend's house. He lives up the road. And I was like, there's this house down the road, but it's out of my budget. And I really want to go see it. So I booked to go and see it. And I turned up on a Sunday. They were like, why are you here, the owners? I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm here to see the house. And I was with my friend. And she was like, oh, hi, Nicole. So she knew my friend. She was like, oh, I didn't realize you had a viewing. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, would you mind if I looked around? And they were really reluctant at first. And then they were like, yeah, sure. You have a look around. And it was the most beautiful house. The one I'm in now had a log burner. It had a playroom. It had a girls' room. It had a boys' room. It had a beautiful garden in the city with a drive. I was like, this is my house. And I was like almost in tears. I was like, this has to be it. And because the girl saw me like nearly crying because I'd been rejected from 15 properties, she was like, I'm going to talk to the landlady and say that it's going to be yours. So she spoke to the landlady despite this renting crisis, despite everything. I got the most perfect house in the most aligned way because she knew my friend who came with me because my daughter was crying because she came down the road, even though the viewing wasn't even booked in. And I rang the estate agents and said, hey, the viewing wasn't booked in. Am I supposed to go today? They were like, no, we didn't know anything about it. No one even put your name down. I ended up getting it regardless. So there is crazy, crazy things that have happened. But with regards to my business, to be honest, I don't have any practices. I just am. And I think we can spend so long just trying to journal and meditate and do the affirmations and be and manifest. And when you just are and you just hold this belief that you're absolutely delusional, that every day I wake up and I'm like, something really amazing is going to happen today, like a crazy psycho.
Yeah.
It always
Does.
does.
Yeah, I love that because I think a lot of people, I'm always just like, yeah, intuition without action isn't worth shit. And it's the same as potential. I'm like, I don't care how much potential you have if you're doing nothing with it. It's
Yeah.
actually in the action. And I think, especially in the spiritual world, we can get so used to believing there's an essence of receiving, which is doing maybe less or that whole like an hour long perfect morning practice. But it's like in action, in alignment consistently over time, which is what you're saying,
100%.
proves to be your new identity. So you can step into it, which is so which is so beautiful. Tell me about, did you call it a wobble? What did you call it? A wobble, a wanky wobble that you've had in that process and how you kind of like were like, oh shit, this is pretty wanky, and how you kind of shifted yourself through that. It's just as an example to be like, it ain't perfect, but you get yourself through it. Tell us about a wanky wobble that, and then kind of what came out the other side. Because I think on the other side of those things, usually something pretty cool happens.
100%. So, the end of last year, I'd supported over 300 clients in my first year of business. I was on consistent five-figure months. I'd signed multiple people into my mastermind, but I was so burnt out. I was constantly on calls. I was probably taking like 5 to 6 calls a day. I was constantly in Telegram. I was forever working. And I was in a wanky wobble. I was like, this isn't sustainable. But I didn't believe in myself that I didn't have to do this constant launching all the time, these constant micro offers all the time, this constant push, push, push all the time, because the evidence was that I had results from that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I was like, well, I've got results, I've got clients, I've supported over 300 women. So if I don't launch all the time and I don't constantly do, I'm going to fall flat on my face.
Hmm.
And this was a huge wobble that I had over Christmas, despite the insane success. And I said to myself in January, I was like, I'm going to find more joy. I'm going to find more peace. I am going to have more fun. I'm not going to work every single weekend until 5 p.m., which is what I was doing. And I couldn't even think about a life outside of that. And I'm just going to sell my high ticket offers and own it. And then I had a 50K cash quarter, English.
Congratulations.
So it just goes to show because I was like, I made that decision and I got out the wacky wobble. Now, again, it's through the movement. It's always through doing and deciding, not just sitting there. I didn't just sit there and not sell my offers. I became the person who was just high ticket. I became the person who just sold these higher ticket things. I got myself in a one-to-one mentorship and stretched myself beyond belief that I've never done before because I've always dipped into things like a mastermind here and this here. I was like, no, I'm going to go all in and I'm going to make this happen. Kind of decisions like are what the majority of people don't do. They kind of want the results, but they don't do the continuous action to get the results. And I think there's something that people come into my world for because of the continuation of my evolution and through wobbles. And don't get me wrong, like I've had clients want to cancel contracts. I've had clients who ghost me and 1 minute say, oh my goodness, you're the best thing that's happened to me. And a week later, they're like, this doesn't feel aligned anymore. I want to cancel everything. You know, those things have happened. I have been trolled. I have been hated on. Like, this hasn't all been roses. But every single time this has happened, I've evolved through it and become better for it.
Yeah, I can't help but think that probably for some people, and I've had to work through this, but like it must be triggering. Like
Yeah.
you existing must be triggering in lots of different ways. Um, and no, I hope that doesn't feel offensive to you, but I'm just like, I think because people are so committed to their story, the way I experience is triggers are, oh, you're so committed to your story. I'm a real annoyance because I'm really putting it in your face just by being me that your story isn't true. And I've had the inverse as well. But I'm assuming it's something like that where people are like, as a nurse, like, oh, I can never change, da, da, da. I had to live within my means. And you're like, no, you don't. No,
Yeah.
you don't. Here you go. Tell me about how you've dealt with that. Like, I think sometimes some success comes with this other side of just being like, got it. I can really see that I've practiced the, that's really true for you because I got
Yeah.
tired of trying to figure out why they were triggered. So I was like, oh, that's just really true for them. It's nothing to do with me. How have you managed that part of the like success and growth to make sure that it's there or you can acknowledge it, but it's not going to define you or keep you occupied?
I'm like, I genuinely, and I mean this with all my heart, I
Mhm.
don't care. Because
Okay,
I'm
great.
like flying and succeeding. And if you're triggered by that, then you're in your victim. And I please do not work with me right now because
Do you think that's from being a mom, or have you always been that way?
I think it's through my job as a health visitor. Like, I've had families call me everything under the sun. You have to have thick skin. You're in the process of very sensitive child situations where children are becoming removed from their primary caregiver. So you are somebody who's primarily hated in my job. Nobody likes me as a health visitor. I'm the one who knocks at the door and they're like, the health visitor's here. And, are you going to be looking in the fridge? Sometimes we have, that kind of like
Yeah.
Are you looking in the bedroom? You're judging me, been shouted at. Like, I have that thick skin from that job. But when
Okay.
it comes to your business, don't get me wrong, it's sometimes wobbled me, but now I'm so certain in who I am. It doesn't even phase me. I wouldn't even probably know if someone was triggered because I probably wouldn't even notice.
No, that's so great. I think the other great thing is that I often reflect on is, isn't it cool that this job that feels so different from what you do now actually has served you so well in your current success? Like I think we can get obsessed with making the right choices, but like ultimately this nursing experience had so many components that you needed that you maybe wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. Like how cool is that to reflect it like, oh, the path was always in this direction and maybe you sped it up, like it sounds like you've been able to accelerate, but like all those pieces come with you, you don't have to throw them away, because I think people get so nervous about making a change. You're like, no, you've built a skill set, it gets to come along and then you get to grow it.
100%. Like I had one of my clients, she'd been in marketing for 20 years. And I didn't know this when she first started working with me last August. And I was like, what do you mean? Why aren't you slaying this all over the goddamn internet? We need to slather this everywhere. And I think we just forget that these skills are transferable. And what made me really resilient in health visiting, although has made me wobbly in business in some respects because it's new and it's mine, has still made me extremely resilient in business as well. And genuinely now, if someone says something or a comment, or it's very rare that, like at the beginning of your business, you're still trying to navigate all the new and how you want to build. But when my clients don't want to come with me through my evolution, I'm like, that's fine. We will let go. But most of my clients will stay with me for around 12 to 18 months,
Yeah, amazing.
generally in the re-sign rate and the retention, which is beautiful. But when it's time to let go, that is for me like a natural progression. And I never see that as something like, I know still a lot of people are so emotionally attached to
Yeah.
everything in their business, and I've been able to emotionally detach myself. Although I care a lot and I do everything for my clients, you have to emotionally detach. Like it's a non-negotiable. If you are emotionally attached to every results your clients get, every time they don't message you in Telegram, every time they don't reply to something or say thank you, you are just gonna burn out emotionally and drain yourself. In my business, I was in Telegram like on the weekends and the evenings because I pretty much should have just done my client sales calls for them by the point of what I was doing.
And this is very common. Like I've seen this. I've seen a few friends, and maybe it's just my experience in business, but I'd be like, don't do their job for them. No one will know how much you're doing if you just do it for them.
Yeah.
But it's a gift because you can do so much. But I think it's pretty cool when you realize your capacity gets to be used for all your passions and your business. That's what I find the big threshold for lots of people are. I'm like, yeah, but you're probably good at things outside of your business. And the only way to sustain is to have a version of balance, whatever that means to you. I don't know if you know who Alex Hermosi is, but he's this overworker American. I'm like, that's very rare. And actually, that's not the only way to be successful. Like, people need to remind themselves, like, be successful on your terms. And if your terms mean you want to work 25 hours a week but make $1 million, cool. Figure out the way to get there. You don't have to work 7 days a week, especially if you're a shell of a person. If you're Alex Hermosi and you think and you believe you're doing really great, amazing. But I'm not a man. And I don't want $1 billion. To be honest, I'm like, cool, a billion seems cool, but I don't need that. I really just need, I would take multiple six figures, she's no
Yeah.
problem, but have some cute vacations. And do you have any cool, like super intuitive, how you got a client story like that? What comes to mind is like you walk into a coffee shop. My first client I ever got, I went to a tarot reading store in Vancouver, and I was like nervous. Someone's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing this soul blueprint readings." And someone in the store turns around and goes, "I would like one." And I go, "Oh, okay, great." She's like, "How much?" And I was like, $99. She's like, "Perfect." And that was my first client I ever got. Do you have that type of experience, either for yourself or your clients, and that like you think you got to try so hard, but actually being in flow, being seen is the true answer?
It definitely is. So yeah, so one that comes to mind is Leanne. She won't mind me naming her. She
Hey,
a
Leanne.
spin Hey Leanne. She's a spin instructor at Norwich, one of my gyms in Norwich, and I knew her because I'd been in her classes before, but she also is this incredible NLP instructor. She like changes lives online. She's amazing, and I knew she did some mindset stuff, but I wasn't quite sure what. And I was building my mastermind, which is now Rich Bitch, which was called Feral Money Queens at the time. And I remember going up to her and I know. I remember
Light,
going
light wording, no big deal. I prefer it. I prefer it.
And going up to her in the spin class, I was like, hey, do you want to come and do an NLP session in my mastermind? And I will coach you for free if you come in every month and I will give you some mentorship. And she was like, yeah. And she was like, I had literally been manifesting that somebody was going to invite me into something really unusual. And so she came in. She's now been one of my clients for over a year. She's now slayed to like well over 5K English, 7K monthly reoccurring revenue from zero. She's built out her whole business off the back of this. And, you know, she's been in intensive, she's coming to my retreat, and she's also a great friend. And had I have never gone up to her in that spin class and been like, hey, do you want to just come to my little mastermind where no one was in yet, by the way? I
Gotta
hadn't
believe.
onboarded anybody. And then she's in and she's been one of my most beautiful clients and friends and had insane success. And those synchronicities you can't ignore. And what happened was another lady was coming into Rich Bitch who was a specialist in VBAC, so vaginal deliveries after C-section.
Okay, yep.
She had actually birthed Leanne's baby at home with her and was her doula. And also, she also then knew one of my best friends who was my maid of honor at my wedding.
Oh my God.
And like we didn't know each other at all. So all these synchronicities just come together so beautifully. But those intuitive things, they do happen all the time. And I think, yeah, there is an element of we need to reach out to people. We need to do lead generation work. There are strategies around that, but with a level of detachment that my ideal clients are actually going to find me.
Totally. Just go be your full shiny self and do the work as needed, but also sometimes you don't have to over engineer it. It just happens.
And yeah, like sometimes I do divine invitations to the dreamiest clients,
Yeah.
but it's generally for a download of like, this is what they need right now. And I feel like I could offer that to them. And I'm offering it you because I know you didn't want to come into this, but how about we do this?
Yeah.
But again, detaching.
Yes. And no one strategy. It's all the strategies that you've decided are like your buckets of development. And then also that way you're not desperate, right? No one wants that. Like, I have to go, yeah, I need you. And you're like, okay, girl, you're not the vibe. Like that feels uncomfortable. Even if you're the most amazing person, it's that entry energy that can be hard. Tell me about divine downloads. Are you someone who's again working out and getting them, journaling? How are you receiving downloads? I'm a car, actually, I wish I drove more because when I'm driving, I'll be like, oh, and I have to like voice note while I'm driving. How are you getting these downloads or how often, how most often are you getting them?
So often I get them when I go to a spin class
Hmm.
because I'm like in a dark room with the music, I'm like moving my body. I very much feel with my body. So if a letter comes through and I can see the postman, I'm like, that's a bad letter. And I can feel my whole, you know, when your blood goes cold and it goes to your pit of your stomach and then it falls on the
Called
floor.
being clairsentient. I wrote a quiz on this. So clairsentient, check. It sounds like claircognizant, clairsentient, which is intuitive feeling and intuitive knowing, which is cool.
Yeah, 100%. And I was actually walking down some fields not too long ago, and we were like talking about spirituality and everything. And then this butterfly was just circling us, circling us, circling us, circling us. And I opened out my hand and it just landed straight on my hand. This was like last week. And
Okay.
butterflies don't land on you. And I just literally was just like open and it landed. And I'm not kidding you, that whole night on my left side of my face was burning. Like you could like have a line down my face. I was like, this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened. But it's more to do with like I really feel things in my body. Like when there's going to be bad news, I can feel it in my body. So my divine downloads generally come when I'm moving, when I'm walking, when I'm spinning, not during meditation because I don't
Well, you're
feel my
probably, I did a whole study, my own personal study on this, but some people are kinetic in terms of learners. So I think there's different types. I can't remember. I did this whole thing, but yes, I think like I'm a movement as well. So some people have to create move flow because everyone's in a flow state. So some people create flow through journaling or painting, and some people that are kinetic learners. I have to go back to my notes, but basically it sounds like you have to be kinetic. You have to be physically in motion to be in a flow state, which is amazing.
Yes, 100%. That's very, very true. But like when I'm driving, I'll still get down, like because it's the movement of the car or
Movement.
like an airplane, I'll be like, I really want to do this offer. I usually make a lot of money when I'm on airplanes. I like when I'm on holiday, I'm like, I'm going to make my investment back on this airplane, and I always do because I make it like a challenge to myself that the investment of my holiday I'll just make back on the
Yeah.
plane.
Amazing. You're like, so more trips, basically. My business plan this year is more trips.
Yeah.
Maybe not to Ibiza if there's that many snakes. I I do want to ask, do you have spicy pigeon profiles or do you personalize the spicy pigeon personas when you work with your clients? I made a quiz obviously because I used to love quizzes in the 90s. Did you make a spicy pigeon quiz or how do people find out about their spicy pigeon?
There is no, I never do anything linear like that because you cannot find your spicy pigeon. I genuinely, when I'm talking to you, it's like I have downloads when you're talking. I just tell my clients to keep talking and I'm writing and I'm talking and I'm like
Okay.
this download. And it sometimes comes like after one call, sometimes it's after a few. And it's just that innovative flair of like when somebody's talking to me one on one.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like ultimately the only way I can describe it is fuck yes. I feel like finally this is like yes, this feels so good. Like I just came off a call of someone and she wanted to, pivot in her business. She's going to be shutting down her whole Instagram page and starting again because I just have this intuition when I'm talking to people that what they're doing isn't lighting them up. And when they're talking, I'm like that. That is what lights you up because it lights you up in your face. So there's not one like archetype, there's not one quiz, there's not one thing. It's
I'm
the
like,
work
I
that
want to be a blue spicy pigeon. I'm like, no, I'm just making, no, I
that
don't
would
know.
be great.
Okay, great. Spicy pigeon personas are personalized through meeting with you. I love this. Okay, great. Good to know. Well, thanks. Can you tell us a little bit about like what you're currently working on, how people can connect with you, find you on the internets?
Yeah, so my Instagram bio, well, handle is BizCoachHolly, and generally I have three main core offers. I have my business pigeon reset, which is where we reset your business, we find your spicy pigeon edge, and we slay every blind spot in your business for 6 weeks. I have Rich Bitch Mastermind, which is for the foundational girlies wanting to scale to consistent 10K months, and the Red Room for those wanting to go to multi six figures and have more intentional support. That is all I have. It's the easiest, simplest offer suite. It's beautiful because there's a stage for everybody. And every single one of those offers, you're going to find your spicy pigeon
Amazing.
100%.
Amazing. And is there anything that I haven't asked you that you wish I had that you wanted to share before we close out our amazing conversation today?
Just don't be afraid to be a kinky ass little weirdo online. I think the people in the online space, there's something already unique about you if you're wanting to market
Mhm.
yourself on Instagram.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, you want to be seen, you want to be heard for exactly who you are. And there's a little kink in there that you're not letting out in on your page. And like you want to ruffle those feathers, you want to kind of like pluck them out, you want to flock the nest that you're in and find your kinky. Because oftentimes people are like, yeah, but that's just not me. I can guarantee you have it in you 100%.
Yeah.
Maybe
Tell me
not as
about your
fluffy as
weird,
me.
like, yeah, tell me about your weird Pokemon collection. You got something hidden in those drawers.
There's a weird Pokemon collection. You wore stripy socks. I used to call myself, oh my goodness, like the weirdest little names at school. I was the biggest geek. I love Lord of the Rings. I love all this
And
stuff.
we're in the age of authenticity, which I'm so thankful for because the age of polished perfection was really hard for me.
Yes.
Authenticity is where we're at. And I think that's like a really good, great gift for everybody to be invited out to say, just say the
Yeah.
thing, be the weirdo.
People are craving that. And I think in 2020, like everyone just wanted this polished version of like what your problems are. Here is the transformation. And now it's like, no, how fucking, like, it's not to be weird, but it's actually just to be your kinkiest little freakiest self and not worried about what Auntie Karen is going to say down the road because Auntie Karen isn't building a multi six figure business. So fuck Auntie Karen, bring out your little weird quirks, bring out your spicy pigeon, and I can guarantee you will be a magnet and flock the right clients to you. Always.
Boom. That is the perfect note to end on. Little mic drop. Thank you so much, Holly. I appreciate it. And we will see you all very soon.